The smell of bleach couldn't mask the stench of my family's greed as they stood in my newly opened pet shelter, their designer shoes clicking against the concrete floor I'd spent 3 days scrubbing clean myself. My sister Victoria balanced her phone between manicured fingers, live streaming to her followers as she zoomed in on the empty kennels, the secondhand medical equipment, the peeling paint I hadn't had money to fix. "Look at this, guys," she laughed, her voice echoing off the walls. "My delusional sister actually thinks she's going to save animals in this dump. It's literally a converted garage." The phone swiveled to capture my mother's disgusted expression as she held a handkerchief to her nose. "Mom can't even breathe in here. It smells like wet dog and failure." My father hadn't even bothered coming inside. He sat in his Mercedes, engine running, making it clear he'd only stopped by for the spectacle of my inevitable failure. Through the window, I could see him on a business call, probably negotiating another deal that would add to the fortune he'd never share with me. "How much did you waste on this disaster?" Mother demanded, nudging a bag of kibble with her Louboutin heel like it might contaminate her. "The money your grandmother left you?" "Every penny," I said quietly, my hands steady as I filled water bowls for the 3 rescue dogs I'd taken in that morning. They cowered in the back of their kennels, still traumatized from whatever hell they'd escaped. I understood the feeling. Victoria snorted. $20,000. She could have invested it, could have done something smart, but no, she had to play Mother Teresa for mangy mutts nobody wants. "Just like her," Mother added, loud enough for Victoria's stream to catch. "Always picking up strays, always trying to fix broken things that should be put down." The cruelest part was that 2 hours ago, I'd been foolish enough to hope they might be proud. After 25 years of being the family disappointment, the daughter who got straight A's but never quite measured up to Victoria's beauty, who worked 3 jobs through college while Victoria got a free ride, who paid her own way through veterinary school while they spent my college fund on Victoria's failed modeling career. After all that, I'd thought maybe, just maybe, opening my own shelter would finally earn their respect. Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore chose that moment to walk through the door, and the very air seemed to shift. She was 83 years old, wore a simple black dress that probably cost more than my entire shelter, and moved with a kind of quiet authority that made my family's flashy wealth look like costume jewelry. Her driver held the door as she entered, her sharp blue eyes taking in every detail of the scene before her. "I hope I'm not interrupting," she said, though her tone suggested she knew exactly what she was interrupting and found it distasteful. My mother's demeanor changed instantly. Eleanor Whitmore wasn't just rich. She was old money rich, charity gala rich, mentioned in the society pages rich. She owned half the commercial real estate in the city and had a foundation with her late husband's name on it, worth hundreds of millions. "Mrs. Whitmore," Mother gushed, shoving the handkerchief in her purse. "What a lovely surprise. We were just supporting Emma's little project." Victoria had gone pale. She ended her live stream with fumbling fingers. "Little project?" Mrs. Whitmore's eyebrow arched. "I understood this was a professional animal rescue facility. Was I misinformed, Emma?" "No, ma'am," I said, wiping my hands on my jeans. "We're small, but we're legitimate, licensed and everything." "She met me at the charity auction last month," I heard Mother whisper to Victoria. "The one for the hospital wing. Why is she here?" But I knew why she was here. Eleanor Whitmore had been visiting for 3 weeks now, ever since I'd treated her ancient poodle, Duchess, when every other vet in the city had told her the dog was too old, too sick, not worth the effort. I'd stayed up for 36 hours straight, nursing that dog back from the edge. Not because Eleanor was rich, but because Duchess reminded me of my own childhood dog, the one my parents had given away when I was 12 because Victoria developed a convenient allergy. Eleanor hadn't forgotten. "I've come to make a donation," Eleanor announced, pulling a checkbook from her purse. "I believe in investing in people who show genuine compassion, especially when they persevere despite discouragement." The check she handed me might as well have been written in fire for how it burned in my trembling hands. $50,000. "That should help with renovations," she said simply. "I'll have my contractor call you tomorrow." Victoria made a strangled sound. Mother's face cycled through expressions like a broken slot machine. "How generous," Mother managed. "Of course, as Emma's family, we're also supporting her endeavor. Aren't we, dear? She looked at my father through the window, but he was still on his call, oblivious. How wonderful, Eleanor said dryly. I'm sure Emma appreciates all the support she's received from her loving family. The words dripped with such subtle sarcasm that only I seemed to catch it. Emma, walk me to my car. I want to discuss something privately. As we walked past my father's Mercedes, Eleanor paused. Is that your father? Yes, ma'am. The same father who, according to courthouse records, sued you for the $20,000 your grandmother left you, claiming it was a family investment he was owed? I froze. I'd never told anyone about that lawsuit, the one I'd fought for 2 years before finally getting my inheritance free and clear. Public records, dear, she said gently. I do my research before I invest in people. I know about the family birthday parties you weren't invited to, the graduation they didn't attend, the veterinary school acceptance they told you to decline because Victoria might want to be a vet someday. How could you possibly? Your receptionist at the clinic, Maria. Her daughter goes to school with my great-granddaughter. Maria has been singing your praises for years. How you treated her cat for free when she couldn't afford surgery. How you stayed late to comfort her daughter when they had to put their old dog down. Did you know Maria keeps a folder of every cruel thing your family has posted about you on social media? She showed it to me. She wanted someone to know what you've overcome. My eyes burned with tears I refused to shed. It doesn't matter. I'm building something good here, with or without them. Yes, Eleanor said thoughtfully. You are. Tell me, what would you do with this shelter if money were no object? I'd expand, I said without hesitation. Buy the empty lot next door. Build a proper surgical suite. Hire full-time staff. Create a program for elderly people who can't afford vet care. Maybe even start a mobile clinic for homeless populations with pets. Ambitious. Unrealistic, you mean? No, ambitious. She studied me for a long moment. I'm old, Emma. Older than I have any right to be. My children died before me. Car accident 10 years ago. My grandchildren live in Europe and haven't visited in 5 years. They send cards on my birthday, always with hints about their trust funds. Do you know who sits with me every evening? Duchess. Do you know who saved her life when everyone else gave up? You. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm rewriting my will, she said abruptly. I've been thinking about it for weeks, but seeing your family today, seeing how they treat you, it's made my decision clear. Oh, they'll contest it, I'm sure. These things always get messy. But my lawyers are very, very good, and I'm very, very thorough. Would you like to know what I'm worth, Emma? That's not necessary. $480 million. The number hit me like a physical blow. I actually stepped backward. I want to leave it somewhere it will do good. Real good, not just tax write-offs and naming rights. Your shelter, and you, represent something increasingly rare in this world. Genuine kindness without expectation of reward. I can't, that's too much. It's not your decision, dear, it's mine. And I've made it. She patted my hand. Now let's go back inside. I want to meet those 3 dogs you rescued this morning. And I want to watch your sister's face when I mention that I'll be visiting regularly to check on my investment. The walk back to the shelter felt like crossing into another life. My family was still there, Mother now frantically texting, Victoria reapplying lipstick, Father finally off his call and standing by the entrance with the put-upon expression of a man whose time was being wasted. Mrs. Whitmore, he boomed in his dealmaker voice. Robert Chen, I understand you're interested in Emma's little venture here. It's not a venture, Mr. Chen, it's a calling. There's a difference, though I wouldn't expect a man who sued his own daughter over her grandmother's dying gift to understand that. The silence was exquisite. Father's mouth opened and closed like one of those fish he was always posting photos with on his yacht. Furthermore, Eleanor continued, I'll be naming the shelter as a primary beneficiary in my estate planning. I thought you should know, since you're family and all. I'm sure you'll want to be supportive now. Primary beneficiary? Mother's voice cracked. But surely your own family. My family is dead or disinterested, Mrs. Chen. But Emma here saved the only family member who still loves me unconditionally. That means something to people who understand love isn't transactional. Victoria laughed nervously. You can't be serious. She's nobody. She's always been nobody. She didn't even get into a good college. Because you sabotaged her applications, Eleanor said calmly. Yes, I know about that too. The guidance counselor you bribed to misdirect her recommendation letters? She kept records. People always do when they're ashamed of what they've done. My sister's face drained of color completely. How did you? Money buys many things, including information. But it doesn't buy character. Emma has character. You have Instagram followers. I know which one holds its value better. She turned to me. The contractor will be here tomorrow at 9. I've also arranged for Dr. Marcus Webb to consult on your surgical suite design. He owes me a favor. Oh, and I'm sending over Duchess's friend, Bijou. Her owner passed last week, and she needs a gentle place to stay while I find her a home. I trust you'll take excellent care of her. Of course, I managed, my voice barely steady. Eleanor moved toward the door, then paused. Oh, one more thing. I've already had my lawyers draft the paperwork. Would you like to know the exact amount the shelter will inherit? Mother, Victoria whispered urgently, do something. But there was nothing to do. Eleanor Whitmore had played a card none of us had seen coming. Everything, Eleanor said simply. Every penny, every property, every investment. The shelter, and by extension, Emma, will inherit everything. The paperwork will be finalized this week. She left then, her driver helping her into a Bentley that purred away into the afternoon traffic. My family stood frozen in my shabby shelter, surrounded by the evidence of my supposed failure, processing the reality that I, the family embarrassment, the daughter they'd dismissed and diminished for 25 years, was about to become wealthier than all of them combined. This is a mistake, Father said finally, his voice dangerous. You've manipulated an old woman? Get out! The words came from somewhere deep in my chest, a place that had been locked for so long I'd forgotten it existed. Get out of my shelter. Emma, be reasonable, Mother started. You had 25 years to be reasonable. You had 25 years to show me even a fraction of the love you showered on Victoria. You had 25 years to be my family. Get out. You can't throw us out, Victoria shrieked. We're your family. When that old woman dies and you get all that money, you have to share it. You owe us. I owe you? I laughed, and it wasn't a nice sound. For what? The birthday parties you forgot? The graduation you skipped? The college fund you stole? The lawsuit Dad filed against me? The internship Victoria sabotaged? The wedding I wasn't invited to? Tell me exactly what do I owe you for? For raising you, Mother spat. For putting a roof over your head. That's called legal obligation, not love. And you stopped doing even that when I was 17 and you kicked me out for refusing to give Victoria my scholarship. I pulled out my phone. You have 30 seconds to leave before I call the police. This is private property. My property? They left, of course. Bullies always do when their power evaporates. Victoria tried one last manipulation, tears streaming down her face as she begged me to remember all the good times, though she couldn't name a single one when I asked. Mother threatened to contest any will, to drag my name through the mud, to make sure everyone knew what an ungrateful daughter I was. Father said nothing, just stared at me with calculation in his eyes, already trying to figure out how to get his hands on money that wasn't even mine yet. After they left, I sat on the floor of my shelter, dogs slowly emerging from their kennels to investigate. The scared pit bull mix pressed his head against my knee. The elderly beagle climbed into my lap. The three-legged shepherd puppy licked my face. Eleanor called that evening. They'll come back, she warned. When the will is read, when the money is real, they'll come back with lawyers and tears and every manipulation in the book. I know. I've left instructions with my legal team. The inheritance is ironclad, but more importantly, it's structured as a trust. You'll be the sole trustee with complete control, but the money belongs to the shelter. They can't sue you personally for it. They can't guilt you into sharing it. It's for the animals, administered by you. Why are you doing this? I asked. Really? Because I've watched my own family turn into vultures, circling me, waiting for me to die. Because I've seen what money does to people who don't earn it. And because I've seen what you do with nothing, imagine what you'll do with something. She was quiet for a moment. And because Duchess is 15 years old, when she goes, I want to know she'll be followed by the ghosts of thousands of animals who lived because you could save them. That's a legacy worth leaving. The next 2 years were a whirlwind. Eleanor's contractor transformed my converted garage into a state-of-the-art facility. We bought the lot next door, then the one after that. I hired Dr. Webb and 3 other veterinarians. We opened the mobile clinic, started the senior citizen program, created a pet food bank for families struggling to feed their animals. My family tried everything. When kindness didn't work, they tried guilt. When guilt failed, they tried threats. Victoria posted sob stories on social media about her cruel sister who'd stolen an old woman's fortune. Mother gave interviews to anyone who would listen about elder abuse and manipulation. Father filed 3 separate lawsuits, all dismissed. But Eleanor had been right. Her lawyers were very, very good. She lived another 2 years, visiting the shelter every week, watching it grow from a desperate dream into something magnificent. She was there when we performed our 1,000th free surgery. She cut the ribbon on the Eleanor Whitmore Senior Center, where elderly people could bring their pets for free care. She held Duchess as we said goodbye, the old poodle finally succumbing to age, but surrounded by love. Eleanor died on a Tuesday morning in spring. She'd been reading in her garden, bijou at her feet, when her heart simply stopped. Peaceful, her doctor said, the way everyone hopes to go. The will reading was scheduled for the following Monday. I arrived at the law offices of Brennan, Foster, and Associates to find my entire family already there. They'd brought reinforcements, cousins I hadn't seen in years, aunts and uncles who'd never acknowledged my existence, all suddenly interested in their beloved Emma. Victoria had dressed for mourning, all black designer clothing and subtle makeup, designed to make her look tragically beautiful. Mother wore pearls and an expression of long-suffering dignity. Father had his lawyer with him, a sharp-faced man who looked like he ate smaller lawyers for breakfast. Emma! Victoria rushed to embrace me. I stepped back, letting her stumble. We're family, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Whatever happens today, we're family. No, I said simply. We're relatives. There's a difference. Mr. Brennan, Eleanor's lead attorney, was a small man with kind eyes and a steel spine. He'd handled my case personally, on Eleanor's instructions, and I trusted him completely. Shall we begin? He asked, ushering us into a conference room dominated by a long mahogany table. The first part of the will was straightforward. Small bequests to longtime employees, donations to various charities, personal items to distant relatives who'd remained kind if absent. Eleanor's family in Europe received trust funds, generous but not excessive, enough to live well but not enough to live without working. And now, Mr. Brennan said, we come to the primary estate. Every person in the room leaned forward. The remainder of my estate, including all properties, investments, accounts, and assets, valued at approximately $483 million, I leave to the Paws and Promise Animal Shelter to be administered in perpetuity by its founder and director, Emma Chen, and upon her death or incapacitation by a board of trustees selected according to the provisions in Appendix C. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds before it exploded. This is insane, Father roared, shooting to his feet. She can't leave $500 million to animals. She can and she did, Mr. Brennan said mildly. The will has been reviewed by 3 separate firms. It's uncontestable. She was manipulated, Mother shrieked. Emma manipulated a vulnerable old woman. Mrs. Whitmore underwent psychiatric evaluation 6 months ago, specifically to prevent such claims, Mr. Brennan said. She was found to be of completely sound mind. Additionally, she left this video message to be played in the event of any contestation. The screen on the wall flickered to life and Eleanor appeared, sitting in her library, Duchess in her lap. If you're watching this, she said, her voice clear and amused, then someone is undoubtedly claiming I was manipulated or of unsound mind. Let me be perfectly clear. I am leaving my fortune to the Paws and Promise Animal Shelter because it represents the only pure thing I've encountered in my 83 years of life. Emma Chen never asked me for a penny. She didn't know who I was when she saved Duchess. She charged me the same rate she charged everyone else, and when I offered to pay more, she refused. She worked 36 hours straight to save a dog other vets had written off, not for money or recognition, but because she believed every life had value. To Emma's family, who I'm certain are watching this with fury and disbelief, let me say this. You had a treasure in your home and you treated her like trash. You had 25 years to love her, support her, believe in her. You chose cruelty instead. Now you want the rewards of her success? You want to benefit from her inheritance? You should have thought of that before you filed lawsuits against her, before you sabotaged her education, before you made her feel worthless every single day of her life. The money isn't Emma's, it belongs to the shelter. She can't give it to you even if she wanted to, which I doubt she does. It will be used to save animals, to help families who can't afford veterinary care, to show the kind of unconditional love you never gave your daughter. Emma, my dear, if you're listening to this, know that you earned every penny not through manipulation but through kindness. Use it well. Save them all. The video ended. Victoria was crying, ugly, genuine sobs that ruined her careful makeup. Mother sat frozen, her face a mask of rage and disbelief. Father's lawyer was whispering urgently in his ear, probably explaining exactly how ironclad the will was. There's more, Mr. Brennan said. Mrs. Whitmore anticipated that there might be difficulties with the family. So she added a provision. Any family member who contests the will or harasses Emma in any way forfeits this. He passed out envelopes. Inside each was a check for $50,000 and a contract. Sign away any claim to the estate, agree to never contact Emma again unless she initiates contact, and you each receive $50,000. Refuse, and you get nothing. Contest the will, and you'll be liable for all legal fees when you lose, and you will lose. 50,000? Victoria laughed hysterically. She left Emma $500 million and offers us 50,000? It's 50,000 more than you deserve, I said quietly. It's 50,000 more than you ever gave me. You vindictive little... Mother started. Careful, Mr. Brennan warned. Harassment voids the offer entirely. One by one, they signed. What choice did they have? Even Father's lawyer admitted the will was unbreakable. They took their $50,000, probably more than I'd cost them my entire childhood, and they left. Victoria paused at the door. I hope you're happy, she said. I hope the money makes you happy. The money doesn't make me happy, I told her. The animals I'll save make me happy. The families I'll help make me happy. The fact that I never have to see any of you again, that makes me ecstatic. The shelter's transformation was immediate and incredible. We built a new facility from the ground up, 10 acres of land with state-of-the-art medical facilities, training grounds, play areas, and housing for over 500 animals. We hired 20 full-time staff members, all paid well above market rate with full benefits. We partnered with local schools to create education programs. We funded spay and neuter clinics in underserved communities, but the best part was the Eleanor Whitmore Memorial Wing, where we treated elderly pets for free. Every week, seniors would bring in their beloved companions, many crying with relief when they learned they wouldn't have to choose between their own medication and their pet's care. We saved thousands of animals that first year, dogs hit by cars whose owners couldn't afford surgery, cats with cancer who would have been euthanized for convenience, horses rescued from abuse. Even a few exotic animals, a blind owl, a three-legged fox, a paralyzed raccoon who became our unofficial mascot. The local news did a feature on our one-year anniversary. They interviewed families we'd helped, showed before and after photos of rescued animals, toured our facilities. The reporter asked me about my family, if they were proud of what I'd accomplished. I don't have a family, I said simply. I have a staff, volunteers, and thousands of animals who've shown me more love than my blood relatives ever did. The segment aired on a Thursday night. Friday morning, I found Victoria standing outside the shelter gates. She looked different, older. Her designer clothes had been replaced with off-the-rack professional wear. Her perfect nails were chipped. The Mercedes she'd driven for years was gone, replaced with a 10-year-old Honda. The 50,000 didn't last long, she said without preamble. Mom and Dad cut me off when I refused to give them half. Said if I couldn't share with family, they couldn't either. And you're here because I need a job. I laughed. I couldn't help it. You want me to give you a job after everything? I'm good with social media, she said desperately. I have over 100,000 followers. I could run your accounts, do your marketing. My marketing manager has 8 million followers across platforms and a degree in digital communications. Then anything, I'll clean kennels, I'll answer phones. Please, Emma, I'm about to lose my apartment. I've applied everywhere. No one wants to hire someone whose only job experience is influencer. You could ask mom and dad for help. They're broke too. Dad made some bad investments, counting on your inheritance to bail him out. When that didn't happen, he lost everything. The house, the cars, the yacht. They're living with his brother in New Jersey. I studied her for a long moment. The sister who'd tormented me my entire life, who'd stolen every opportunity, who'd made me feel worthless and small. She looked small now, standing outside my gate, begging for scraps of kindness she'd never shown me. No, I said. Emma, please. You know what you never understood, Victoria? It was never about the money. Even now, with all of Eleanor's fortune, it's not about the money. It's about love. Real love. Not the transactional kind our parents taught us. These animals, they don't care that I have millions now. They loved me when I had nothing. They loved me when I smelled like bleach and desperation. They loved me when our family wouldn't. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry for everything. I believe you. But being sorry doesn't erase 25 years of cruelty. It doesn't undo the damage. And it doesn't obligate me to save you now. I started to walk away, then paused. There's a shelter in Newark that's hiring. I know the director. If you're serious about working with animals, I'll put in a word. You'll start at minimum wage, cleaning kennels, and doing laundry. You'll go home covered in fur and drool and things you don't want to think about. But if you stick with it, if you actually learn to love something besides yourself, maybe you'll understand what you missed all those years. You'd do that? After everything? Not for you. For the animals who need care, even in Newark. Even from you. I made the call. She got the job. Last I heard, she was still there, 2 years later, working her way up to adoption coordinator. She sends me updates sometimes. Pictures of dogs she's helped place, cats she's nursed back to health. I don't respond, but I read them. Maybe she's changing. Maybe she's not. Either way, it's not my responsibility anymore. My parents tried to reconnect once, showing up at a charity gala I was hosting. Security escorted them out before they could make a scene. They sent a letter afterward, pages of justification and blame, ending with a request for a small loan to help them get back on their feet. I sent the letter back unopened with a copy of the restraining order Mr. Brennan had helped me file. The shelter grew beyond anything Eleanor and I had dreamed. We opened satellite locations in 3 other cities. We funded veterinary scholarships for low-income students. We created a program that placed emotional support animals with veterans and trauma survivors. We partnered with prisons to create a rehabilitation program where inmates trained service dogs. 5 years after Eleanor's death, we'd saved over 50,000 animals. Each one had a name, a story, a second chance at life because an old woman saw something in me that my own family never did. I kept her picture in my office right next to Duchess's. Visitors often asked who she was. My fairy godmother, I'd tell them. She taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when you're covered in dog hair and failure, who sees your worth when you can't see it yourself, and who loves you without conditions or expectations. She must have been special, they'd say. She was, I'd agree. But the really special thing, she didn't save me. She just gave me the tools to save myself. And then I saved everyone else I could reach. The shelter is 10 years old now. We've expanded internationally, opening facilities in 12 countries. We've pioneered new surgical techniques, funded groundbreaking research, changed laws about animal welfare. The girl who once stood in a converted garage, mocked by her family for daring to dream, now runs one of the largest animal welfare organizations in the world. Sometimes late at night, when I'm doing rounds and checking on our critical cases, I think about that day. The day my family laughed at my shabby little shelter. The day Eleanor Whitmore walked in and changed everything. Not with her money, that came later, but with her belief. She saw something in me that I was still learning to see in myself. I think about Victoria, possibly still in Newark, finally understanding what it means to love something that can't benefit you. I think about my parents, living their small lives in New Jersey, wondering where they went wrong. I think about Eleanor, resting peacefully, knowing her fortune is saving lives every single day. But mostly, I think about the animals, the scared pit bull who now therapy visits hospitals, the elderly beagle who lived another happy 7 years with a loving family, the three-legged shepherd puppy who became a search and rescue dog. They didn't care about my family drama or my inheritance or the bitter irony of becoming rich through kindness rather than cunning. They just cared that I showed up every day, ready to fight for them the way no one had ever fought for me. Until Eleanor. The text on our main building, carved in marble above the entrance, reads, "The Eleanor Whitmore Center for Animal Welfare." But those who work here know the real inscription, the one Eleanor whispered to me the last time I saw her, the day before she died. They laughed at you for choosing love over money. Let them choke on their laughter now. And somewhere in whatever existence follows this one, I like to think Eleanor and Duchess are watching, satisfied with how their investment paid off. Not in dollars, though there were plenty of those, but in lives saved, families kept together, and love multiplied beyond measure. The funny thing about revenge is that the best kind isn't planned or plotted or schemed. The best revenge is simply living well, succeeding despite those who tried to break you, and becoming everything they said you'd never be. My family thought they were teaching me my place, showing me I was worthless, proving I'd never amount to anything. Instead, they taught me that real worth has nothing to do with their approval. They taught me that family is chosen, not born. They taught me that the best response to cruelty isn't more cruelty, it's such overwhelming success that their opinion becomes irrelevant. They laughed when I opened a pet shelter. They stopped laughing when Eleanor Whitmore left it everything. But by then, I wasn't listening anyway. I was too busy saving lives, too focused on building something beautiful from the ashes of their neglect, too surrounded by real love to notice the silence where their mockery used to be. That's the thing about underdogs who finally win. We don't gloat, we don't need to. The victory speaks for itself, loud and clear in every wag of a rescued tail, every purr of a saved cat, every chance at life that wouldn't have existed if we'd given up when they told us to. Eleanor knew that. She knew that the fortune she left wouldn't just save animals. It would save me too, not from poverty, but from the poverty of spirit my family had tried to instill. She knew that every dollar would be a vindication, every success a rebuttal to years of being told I was nothing. And she knew, with the wisdom that comes from age and loss, that the best inheritance she could leave wasn't money at all. It was proof that sometimes, the weird kid who prefers animals to people, the disappointment who refuses to be molded into someone else's image, the failure who keeps trying anyway, sometimes that person inherits the earth. Or at least enough of it to save every abandoned soul who needs saving. Just like someone once saved me.